All right, let's welcome to Straight Fire a new guest. She has never made an appearance on the podcast, but between her name and her employers, ESPN and VSIN, that's an interesting crossover. Let's welcome in Stormy Buonantony. I hope I got the last name right. I've been working on it here for a little bit. Stormy, how you doing?
I'm great. Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of letters. So even if you got it wrong, you'd still be fine. Don't worry about it.
Yes. So, what's the reaction usually from coaches and players when you say, "Hey, Stormy, can I get a word or whatever?"
Sometimes it's like a little, oh, okay, that's interesting. But no, it's nice. It makes it more memorable, I think,
hmm
which can be helpful sometimes. That whereas if my name was Sarah, maybe I'd have to reintroduce myself a little bit more, but Stormy sticks. So it's been helpful,
Yeah.
I found.
So I assume you get asked this all the time. Stormy, was it a rainy night when you were born? Like, what's going on?
It actually was. My mom liked the name a lot, and she had gone back and forth between Stormy and Chloe. And
Oh,
the night I was born, in like the middle of the night in Las Vegas in the summer of July, we had a summer shower that night. And so she was like, "Oh, it's meant to be." So it
yeah.
actually was. We had a rainstorm that night, and that's what she went with.
Raining in the desert. Okay.
Yep.
VSIN ESPN. So, I mean, obviously the gambling stuff is huge now, and also the sideline reporting stuff is big. I'm just curious what's your origin story getting into the industry and cracking Vegas?
Sure. Well, what's interesting with my background in betting is it's something I grew up with. So, yes, I live in Vegas now, but I was born and raised here. I'm one of those
Oh,
unicorn people that are from here. And my grandfather back in the day ran the old Santa Anita and Rose Bowl sports books that were here in Vegas. And my uncle is currently an odds maker in town. And my father, he has sidestepped the degenerate title and now gone with determined. He's a determined gambler. So this was just
mm.
always something that's been in my life. I actually very much so learned sports through the lens of sports betting. My dad and I would be sitting on the couch watching games, and my whole life from the time I was a little kid, even when we had the old box tube TVs, would have four TVs lined up at once. And he'd be, okay, top left, we just want points. Okay. So it doesn't matter who scores. It doesn't matter who's winning. We just want points. And I'm like, okay, so top left, we want points. We need Notre Dame over here. Like that's just totally how I learned football. It's how I learned a lot of sports, was just watching on the couch with my dad and my grandpa having me fill out parlay cards as a child. So that's just what it was for me.
Jeez. Well, so then you decide what in college, you know what? I like this gambling. So there was never any like backup choice, like I'm going to be a teacher, an accountant, engineer, and none of that stuff.
So honestly, I always thought of myself as a sports fan, not as someone who would work in it at all. So I went to college with zero direction. I was just taking general education courses. I thought, oh, maybe I'll go into nursing. So I took some anatomy and physio stuff. And then I randomly fell into a radio television elective course that changed the trajectory of my life. Instantly, my sports stories were better than any of my news stories. And I had my teacher legitimately pull me aside and was like, if you have any interest in this, you actually can speak about sports really well. And if you want to pursue this, like we have all of these courses that we could shift your major into and all of this. And I did it. And
Whoa.
I haven't looked back since, but it wasn't with a gambling focus because at that point when I graduated college, PASPA hadn't been passed and
hmm
sports gambling legalization nationwide wasn't available. So I'm working, my first job out of school was with the Mountain West Conference, where I'm not even allowed to fill out an NCAA tournament bracket because that's considering gambling. And so
Oh.
it was crazy. I went from, oh, this is what I'm so used to and this is everything, to the world I work in sports now. It's so taboo. I did that job. I worked for the Carolina Panthers, NFL organizations can't have anything to do with it. So it was so backwards from what I was raised with. And then when I started working with the ESPN and I left some of my more traditional jobs and I was just doing sideline reporting, and VSIN came calling, ESPN was going to let me do both. And it was the
Oh.
best of both worlds. And they just said, have integrity with what you're doing, which it's like, don't bet on your own games. Don't bet on, like they had certain rules that were in place for that. And I followed them and it's been amazing. I'm so grateful.
So how do you level up from like the Carolina Panthers to ESPN sideline reporting? That's quite a leap. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. It helped that SEC Network was housed in Charlotte, where I was living at the time working for the Panthers. I took a tour of the building with I had arranged a meeting with a coordinating producer that was there basically to just have an informal conversation, and he was going to
Mhm.
give me a tour of SEC Network. And then we got to know each other. I bugged him relentlessly for 6 months. And at the end of that 6 months, he gave me an audition game. And I did the audition game. It turned into another that just grew and grew and grew for me at ESPN. But basically, I found bothering people and getting tours of buildings
Yeah.
have really helped me out.
Squeaky wheel. It really does work.
Yes.
I won't bore you with my stories, but yes, that is spot on. So you're a sideline reporter. You're calling a game this weekend, right?
Yes, I am. I am at Cal at Oregon State in Corvallis. So getting a little bit of that old school Pac-12 after dark vibe with
Mm.
two teams that are no longer in that vibe anymore.
So you can't bet on that game. What about
No.
referencing point spread total, any of that props during the game on the sideline? Is that taboo or no?
So that's not really something that we do. It's interesting because with Fox how they cover the UFL, ESPN does as well, and I did reporting for that for a time, and my role was sideline reporter slash betting analyst for
Yeah.
those games, which I loved. It's so fun to update live lines in the game. I like doing that in general as I'm watching games at home and betting things. So to be on the field and multitasking and doing that and giving out anytime touchdowns was so much fun. But with college football, I don't do that as much. What I do think is critical for broadcasters, and I'm curious if you agree, is to have awareness of the spread and total in games. Because there is nothing worse as a bettor watching a game that apparently like it's a blowout game and you might think nobody's watching. No, there are people that are dialed in. That field goal matters. That free throw at the end of a
Yeah.
game matters. And so I think having that awareness as a broadcaster is very important. And sometimes if the crew I'm working on any given week isn't aware of that, like I did a game last year, Texas A&M in Missouri, where we were in one of those situations. It was a blowout for A&M, and a meaningless field goal for Missouri at the end of the game made the total go over. And so
Mhm.
that's when I get in my producer's ear and I say matters to some, and then you hear the play-by-play say matters to some. And so
Yeah.
that's where I think like my value in those moments matters.
So it's so funny you say that. So what was the game? Iowa State, Kansas State over the weekend.
Hmm.
Iowa State calls an awesome fourth down play, and the guy looks like he scores.
Yep.
And then I think they ruled him down at the one. And my first thought, now maybe this is just because I'm wired weird. I was like, ooh, I wonder what the total was. Because I try not to bet week zero. I'm loaded up this weekend. But of course, they pull back the touchdown and they don't end up scoring and game over and it stays under, which was, listen, it's college football. Wacky stuff happens. Fast forward to this weekend. Obviously, you are a big college football, I don't know, fan, junkie. What do you
Fan,
want to,
reporter, all of the above,
all
whatever
the
you
above?
want to call it. Yes.
So I'm curious where you land on this whole Arch Manning debut. It's mostly his debut, right? He had the
Yeah.
soft opening last year with a couple starts against crap teams, but now he's got to go to Ohio State. I'm of the belief the hype is a little too much, as he's like the Heisman favorite, Texas is number one, playoff favorite, all that nonsense. I don't know if he's that good. I guess we'll find out. Either I'm way off or he is the man. But where do you land on the Arch hype machine as we head to Columbus?
It's a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
So when I did my own preseason rankings, I don't know if you guys do this too, but obviously the AP poll comes out. But as a bettor and a handicapper, I like to have my own opinion on what those things are. And I make my own lines to decide if I have a perceived advantage, right? And when it came to Texas was not my number one overall team. Arch Manning is not my favorite for Heisman, right? And so I am curious what it's going to look like. And that week one game against Ohio State in the horseshoe is going to be a massive test for them. And he does have the protection of a really, really good defense, which is awesome. But what kind of protection also is he going to get up front? There's like four of the five offensive linemen in front of him who are new too. So in a loud environment, working on communication, young quarterback making his debut as the guy, I don't know what that's going to look like yet. And I am very curious. Do I think he's incredibly talented? Yes. But I think it's hard to just pick up and be the guy out of nowhere right away. So I'm interested to see what the maturation process looks like for him, how he can develop. He's obviously hyper talented. I just don't know if you can snap your fingers and be that.
Yeah.
So I'm very hesitant about Arch and Texas, at least early on. And I want to see what this first game looks like.
I largely agree. I also wonder, like, I don't know, Stormy, if he's the man and so good and amazing, why didn't he throw a pass against Georgia in the SEC title game or in either of the playoff games? All he did was come in and run a couple gadget type. He had like 5 carries for, I don't know,
And
12
why did they
yards.
stick with Quinn, right? And have him come back? Like, there, I think those questions are warranted, Jason.
It just feels like maybe he's not that. I kind of think Ohio State blows him out. I'm on the Buckeyes minus 2.5, but it's going down. I'm sure you saw.
Yep.
I think it's down to 2 at some spots in the desert. But so are you allowed to say if you have a bet on the game, given you're a sideline reporter? Or?
So I don't have a bet, but I can give picks on games. And so that's the thing is like any game that I'm not on the sideline for, I can still give my picks for. I always just have to like give the caveat that like whether I'm betting something or not. Right. And so like I cover the NFL, but I'm not on an NFL sideline. So I can have those bets in my bankroll, but there are just some bets that I'm not allowed to. But with Ohio State, Texas, I like the under, but I don't really like feel confident one way or another. This total is going down, by the way, too. It was 50.5. It's 47.5 now. But I mean, simple argument, 2 likely really good defenses taking on offenses that are breaking in new quarterbacks, right? But I don't know. This is one of what I think for me, Jason, in week 1 will be really good barometer games, like data point games that I'm going to take what I learned from and see from those games and push it forward. Like Ohio State's got a ton of questions too. Am I wrong? Like, yes, they're one of those programs that we don't rebuild, we reload, but new quarterback, new coordinators, you lose your top 2 leading rushers, your top 3 sack getters. There are questions around them too. So that's one of those games where I want to see what it looks like. And I know that's boring and that's not giving anybody a bet to make, but that's how I feel about that one.
What about LSU Clemson? Clemson 3.5. It looks like they're at home. Brian Kelly cannot seem to win season openers. I don't know where you're on Nussmeier, but I'm not a huge fan. I somehow I don't have a bet on this yet, but it feels like Clemson easily.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that like taking, at least when it was 4, and I know as long as you're over that key number of 3, you feel good about taking the points. Usually if you are an underdog better, whether it's plus the 3.5, plus the 4, I like Clemson. And I am glad that you said that, Jason, because I feel kind of like I'm on an island with this pick at VSIN and a lot of my sports betting counterparts who like think this is going to be a close competitive game and taking the points. But even if Clemson wins, but LSU will be right there with it. My biggest questions for LSU in this matchup are similar, honestly, to what I just said about Texas's offensive line. How quickly is this O-line going to gel after losing 4 guys to the draft? Again, you're in a loud, raucous environment against maybe the best defensive line in the country. We'll see what their defense ends up being. But I think those are fair questions to have. And then has this defense for LSU started to catch up? They did a lot of work in the transfer portal. They're trying to rebuild that side of the ball, but like the defense has held them back. The last 2 years, their offense has been humming and their defense has been terrible for what they need it to be. Yeah. So I don't know if they've caught up. For me, in my rankings, I had Clemson as my number 2 team in the country. So I am higher on them than some. And also, like, tell me what you think about this. I'm a little bit worried about LSU and Brian Kelly putting so much into this week 1 game. Yeah. We know historically how they've struggled in these openers, last 5 years, last 3 under Brian Kelly they've lost. But like, they've got the pause on the walls around the facility, on the weight bags, and we've got to win this game. They're putting so much into it. Psychologically, if they do lose this game, which they could, and they are an underdog in the game, like, what does that then do to you moving forward? I think even the week after that against La Tech is probably a letdown spot where you're going to have a huge spread and maybe that's just not what you think it is. But the emotional investment in this, when you do have other really tough games on your schedule, are you thinking that your season is over when you lose that game? You shouldn't be because of the 12-team playoff. But like, I just think of the mental battle that you have invested so much into this game if you lose, what that might mean for them.
Yeah, and a good point with the Louisiana Tech after that. And then the week after that is Florida. Yeah. Huge SEC game. And listen, if they lose 2 games before the first month is done, they're not going to the playoff. They still have Ole Miss, South Carolina, Alabama, yeah, Oklahoma. That's a brutal schedule. So you're right. This is a kitchen sink game for Brian Kelly, and he just throws
Yeah.
everything just to get the win and keeps it close. But I want to back up. You said your gambling friends. I'm not being sexist or anything, but I'm assuming these are mostly guys, or unless you have a group of girls who are diving into LSU look ahead spots.
I have a couple girlfriends that I'm
Really?
fortunate. Yes. One that Ariel Epstein, who works in the space.
Oh, I know her name.
She's
Okay.
a great prop better. And then another one of my girlfriends who used to work with me at VSIN. She no longer works with us. She's actually going to become a nurse, oddly enough. She's changed career paths. But Danielle Alvari, she's a big sports betting fan as well. So I'm very grateful I have a couple of them.
Mm.
But to your point, yeah, most of my group chats are with a bunch of dudes. So that's how
Yeah,
it goes.
that's interesting. Wow. Clearly you know your stuff. I am curious though. There is one other game, and yeah, some people are telling me I'm on the wrong side. I like Miami on Sunday. I'm sorry, I like Notre Dame at Miami on Sunday. I'm just
Okay.
not a believer in this Carson Beck. I'm all in on Freeman. I think he's a genius. I'm higher on Carr than I guess many,
Yeah.
and obviously the run game and the defense. I think Notre Dame's gonna be okay, but your thoughts?
No, we're like-minded. I would prefer the money line because it's a pretty cheap money line price right now, around minus 130
Mm.
versus laying the 2.5. But whichever way you want to play it is fine. Yeah, I'm with you. I like Notre Dame in this matchup. Beck is so interesting to me because obviously he goes into last year as this Heisman candidate, short shot to be the number one overall pick. He
Yeah.
obviously has all the tools and had great moments with Georgia, but there are some struggles that are hard to get over when you look back to last year. Like that stretch where he could not stop throwing the ball to the other team, multiple three-pick games, like what Florida, Alabama, three picks, no touchdowns against Texas. It was a hard watch. And then he doesn't get the chance to have his redemption and everything. So is Miami that for him? But then you're replacing a guy who was the number one overall pick and who was all these things in Cam Ward and was so great for them. But I honestly, for me, my liking Notre Dame in that game is more of a I just really like the Irish more than it is a fade of Miami. I think the defense is going to be awesome. I think Jeremiah Love, I don't think that he'll win the Heisman, but I could see him having a great season and being invited to New York. And yeah, I like them. Plus, I was looking through, let me pull this up really fast. Notre Dame, 16-4 against the spread versus ranked teams under Marcus Freeman. Best ATS mark of any
Wow.
head coach against ranked teams since the FCS split in 78. So he has been great in this spot.
Yeah. Wow, that's an amazing stat. So I want to back up. You also said earlier NFL betting. So you're only sidelines for college, or do you do NFL sidelines too?
I only do college football sidelines right
Okay.
now.
So I assume that means you can enter the Survivor and Circa Millions and stuff. And
Oh
do
yeah.
you?
Oh yeah. I'm ready. I'm ready to
Really?
go. Yes.
So
Oh
are
my
you on
gosh.
a solo on those, or do you do like a group entry where you guys divide up the teams, or what have you?
So I do it with my dad. It's like a
Oh,
cool,
wow.
yeah, it's a cool father-daughter activity that we do together. We have 3 Survivor entries and
What?
one
What?
in Circa Million. Yeah, we're locked and loaded.
Wait,
We're ready to go.
are the survivors 1,000 or
A
1,500?
thousand each.
Holy cow! And the Circa Millions is a great. So you're
Yep.
4 grand in. Oh my good, you
Yes.
guys are hardcore.
Yes. Well, if you're winning the millions, then it doesn't matter,
Well,
right? It's
yeah,
just a
but the
penny in the
reality is
barrel.
it's
Sure.
very. Have you entered
And
before with your dad?
I have, yes.
Have you
We
guys cashed?
No, I mean we've been close but haven't
Yeah.
won anything, Survivor, I'm one of those people that a couple years ago in the COVID season, we got to week 10 or 11 and it was the Lions the Lions and Steelers tie where you have to put your entry in by a certain deadline, right?
Yeah.
And it was a COVID season. And so the COVID ins and outs, you didn't know necessarily there was a deadline by which you had to have that information, but teams did it kind of sporadically up until that deadline. And the Circa deadline was before that. So we
Oh.
picked the Steelers that day, and Big Ben, like an hour after we submitted our entry, was on the COVID list. And so you get like this backup experience. And they end up in a tie, and a tie is a loss in Survivor too.
Yeah.
So that was brutal. But all of that to say, it is the funnest ride when you go deep in the
Yeah.
contest. And and circa millions, at least like you're paying for your experience in millions because you're making 5 picks against the spread every week. So even it's not like Survivor where you can be bounced in week 1. But what I always tell people when they do get into Survivor is everyone thinks they can win. And quite frankly, anyone can.
Yeah.
Their slogan is anyone can play, anyone can win. And it's so true because you have all these experts that come in and think that they can do something. And then it's somebody who maybe played high school football that just loves the NFL and ends up winning it, right? So you never know what it is. But what I say is everybody thinks it's so easy just to pick a winner. All you have to do is pick a winner, and it is so,
Yeah.
so
Well,
hard.
anybody who says that needs to enter these contests and see.
Yes.
And I love you know who is the worst about this? It's like the guys who are hardcore gamblers and are betting thousands of dollars on every game.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are like, oh, those contests, who cares? Come on, come on, 5 picks, frozen lines. Okay, well, why don't you enter the contest? Because they know how tough it is. Because
Yes.
I've run into these guys. I don't know. We could wrap up with. I'm curious where you are on the sports gambling community because I don't know how many women in Vegas are hardcore into gambling like you, sports that is. And the male gambling community is kind of rotten. A lot of losers. I'm sorry to say that. These guys are just insufferable. Everybody is anonymous online, yet they are an advantage player and they're geniuses. How have you found these people, whether it's online or in person, in Vegas?
I think it's like with anything, there are bad apples in any community. And so there are a lot of really great people that I see all the time at the sports book that are kind as can be, that are great, that don't act like a know-it-all. Honestly, some of the best bettors out there are the ones that aren't coming on shows and that aren't tweeting out their picks and it aren't being those people. So the guys that are the most legit more often than not aren't actually on those programs.
Yeah.
And that's something that I always say about myself, by the way, is like I am a bettor. I'm not a professional bettor. If I was making millions of dollars betting games, then I probably wouldn't be doing this, right? Like
I doubt that. Yeah.
I'm hiding in the shadows, keeping my picks to myself. Like I'm someone who loves sports and loves sports betting and loves talking about it. And like that's what I do. I've been fortunate to have winning records in a handful of sports for a handful of years, but like that's not what I don't make my money as a gambler. I make my money talking about games, right? So it's a different thing. But with that, in the community at large, yeah, some people just need to like stop talking. The amount of people that just act like they are God's gift to this earth, and why do you get to do this, and why do you get to talk about this is just like it just gets so old so fast. And Follow the Money is a show on VSiN. Mitch Moss and Polly Howard are the hosts of that show, and they did this segment where they got off on a tangent the other day, and I agreed with every word they said about people on social media. And that can go to sports betting, that can go to people that are like trying to tweet at these athletes. They're different things, right? But I wish we could make a change to social media that you have to have your full legal name,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
a picture of yourself and your place of work. If everyone had that on their social media, I think we would live in a different world when it comes to that stuff. And that's what they were talking. I was just like in complete agreement with every word they said. It would never happen, but I would love it. And it would change the way people act online.
Well, it's interesting because I'm pretty sure for Instagram and TikTok, you have to put, I don't know about full name, but your name has to be on there and an email address. Twitter's the one that's really dark and sordid, where any jabroni can just fake a fake email address. You don't have to know, you don't have to put any info. But I do think on TikTok and Insta, I'm not 100% because I'm not really on TikTok, but a big tell is if some guy's on TikTok bragging about his bets, that he's definitely not someone you want to listen to.
No. And like most of the people that you want to listen to are the people that are transparent, that have their records, that have their spreadsheets readily available for you. Like those are the people you want to listen to. You don't want the touts. You don't want the people that are bragging about a fictitious record. Like do your due diligence, right? Sift through this stuff as much as you can. And fortunately for me, Jason, and I don't know if you go through this on social media at all, but like the mute and block button is readily available and it is very easy.
Oh,
So that's what
I'm not on there now, but I can guarantee you I've blocked way more people than you. Let me just quickly look it up because It's a significant. I don't have time to waste with these losers. So I
It's just not
instantly.
worth it, right? It's just
Um,
not worth it.
where do you go to see how many people you've blocked?
I'm sure if you go into your settings or something, there's like a blocked accounts
Oh,
section.
I
But
guarantee you'd probably be impressed because I don't really care. Even if they follow me and they're saying like, "Oh, you're an idiot" and spell it wrong, I don't care. I'll just block them. I don't
yeah.
need this. Dang it. I don't know where the easy way to find it is, but it's
Because
really
like
not that
people just
important.
don't realize it does impact people. And I think like as I've gotten more mature and like older in this business, right? When you have people come for you, you recognize that like the people whose opinions that matter are the ones that like you care about, your bosses, your family, your whatever. It's not these strangers that you've never met and that would never say any of those things to you in real life.
Never.
And so the more you recognize that, I think the easier it becomes to put it to the side. But when I was early on in my career and I'm like working my first sideline games and people are so rude talking about the way I look instead of what I'm saying. And if you did this, maybe you'd get better assignments.
Wait,
Like just
online or to your face?
online,
Yeah, yeah.
never to my face. People, and that's the thing is like, I try to be very nice to people, everyone I meet as much as possible. And so like, and people I think are that same way. When you meet someone, you're always nice. It's so nice to meet you. Oh, I love the show. I love that. People are very kind. But then behind closed doors, like, I'm like, no, I know your handle. You are not nice.
Yeah, the power of anonymity really makes these guys
Yeah.
feel like, oh, you know what, I could say anything. But no, you're right. I am curious. So these degenerate gamblers who are seeing you at games, are they like asking you for gambling tips and stuff?
Oh yeah, which honestly I kind of love. I think that's fun. If somebody comes up to me when I'm working an ESPN game and they're like, "Stormy, like I love you on VSIN. What's the pick of the week?" Like I love that. Those interactions I live for. It's so fun. Always have to have one quick at the ready to go. But yeah, I love those interactions.
Okay, I just found it also. Um, blocked accounts. It
Oh,
looks
how
like
many? Come on.
it's not saying the number. I could have swore the last time I checked it was 2,700. Um, just because I like with the opinions and stuff, it's like
Yeah.
people get really Eagles fans upset at something I said. Chiefs fans hate me,
Yeah.
but I don't really care. But it's the gambling people who are losers. They're like, "Hey, last week you went 1-4." I was like, "Okay, what
Yeah.
about last month?" And
Yeah.
they don't say anything. Yeah, I'm just like I just don't have time for that. Why am I wasting my time talking to
Or like
anonymous losers?
or the people that will correct you on something even though they're wrong. Like that's the one that always bothers me is when somebody comes
Yeah.
for a report or something that I gave or a pick that I gave before the result comes out and they're talking trash about how I'm so stupid and how could that ever be? And
Yeah.
then I win that bet or I was right with my argument and then they're very quiet after that. So it goes both ways. It's just one
Do,
of those things.
do you have siblings or no?
I do, yes, a bunch of
Are they
them.
into sports gambling or no?
My older brother is definitely,
Oh,
but
wow.
that's
So you
my
guys are like a real gambling family.
yes, my younger siblings are younger. Like I have my oldest brother is 36 and my youngest sibling is 11. So we span a lot of generations.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So my youngest although man, I'll tell you, my little sister Olivia, when my dad will be like making he likes doing a big part like a 6, 8 leg teaser on NFL Sundays, and he'll just ask Olivia, "Okay, what teams do you like today?" Jokingly, and he'll actually go bet it for himself for fun. She cashes more tickets than him. It's hysterical.
Wow. Yeah, I have to ask, what does your mom say when he's acting like this? Asking
Uh,
your 11-year-old for parlay picks. Sorry,
she
sorry to laugh. I mean,
well, her mother is my stepmother now, but she married into it, so she knew what she was marrying into from the beginning. Yeah, it's
okay.
fine.
So it's wow, that's pretty cool. Well, awesome backstory. Stormy Bonatoni. I think I got that right. Yeah.
Nailed it.
ESPN, VSIN, obviously will be all over TV. Enjoy Corvallis. Is that Oregon State?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Perfect.
Enjoy it, and I'm sure we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.